Welcome back to 10 Steps to a Record Book. My name is Bailey Wright. I work as the District 1 4-H Program Specialist, and we are on Step 9, your 4-H story and photo portfolio. Hopefully, since the last video, you have completed your college and career exploration section, and that means you are done with the report form section of your record book. Remember, record books are made up of two components: your report form and your 4-H story. So you have a big chunk of the work done by now. So we're going to split up the story into 2 weeks. This week, I'm going to hopefully help you understand maybe what the story is and know what you need to gather to be prepared for next week when we really work on the nuts and bolts and put the story all together. So I'll just go ahead and jump right in. We're going to start, hopefully, on the D1 4-H website because I want to show something to y'all. So again, d14h.tamu.edu, 4-H events, record books, scroll down. We're going to look at this family guide. I just want to highlight some things for you. Remember, this is what I would consider the holy grail of record books. So I think before you turn your record book in, or if you still haven't gotten started yet, that's okay, you still have time. But make sure you browse through this and read it. I think there maybe are some details that I maybe haven't covered or haven't covered as well that you can pick up from this guide. But we're going to go to page 6 to just read about the 4-H story real quick. Okay, pause. Before I go there, just a reminder, I know I'm beating a dead horse, but this summary chart, remember, in D1, we do things a little different for our juniors and intermediates. We make these minimums and maximums match the senior minimum and maximums. So this chart in the family guide does not apply to D1. I'll show y'all where our chart is here in a minute. Okay, here we are, the 4-H story. Again, it's going to be titled My 4-H blank, whatever your project is, or excuse me, whatever your record book category is. So for example, My 4-H horse story and photo portfolio. There's no leniency on those titles. Here's basically the bullet points of what you need to answer in your 4-H story. That's always helpful for me to see. Photos are super important that they reflect growth and involvement in the 4-H member's career, and they're not outside 4-H photos. They're only 4-H photos. We're going to go more in depth on photos today to help you gather some of those up. And I know it might be a little tough. Sometimes it's so tough. You just forget to take 4-H pictures in the moment. So maybe this year you don't have quite the photos you need or want. But keep on with what you have this year, and you'll know next year moving forward more what kind of photos you need to be taking. It says captions are optional. We'll talk more about that in a minute too. Page limits, but again, remember, we'll refer to that chart for page limits. Double spaced using a minimum of 10-point font. Just a little more. Okay, I just wanted to show y'all where this was and maybe give you an idea on what the family guide looks like. But let me show you one thing. I want to show y'all where that summary chart is for D1. Right here, see it? This link right here, that's the summary chart for D1 that we need to be referencing to see page allowances, minimums, maximums, all that sort of good stuff. So let's switch screens. I'm going to show y'all a little outline and tip sheet that I personally come up with for your 4-H story. So this is just, again, my personal opinion. I've seen a lot of really good record book stories, and they all follow this same pretty basic outline. I know it's basic, but I think it works. And this is basically how I break up the paragraphs. To me, each numeral is a paragraph of its own. So you have your introduction, your main project, which your main project should be the project that correlates to the record book category that you're entering. So that'll be really probably the biggest chunk of your 4-H story. Your second project, your third project, If you have other smaller projects, you can just kind of group them into one paragraph, one section, and get those covered. Maybe you have a fourth large project. Great, put that fourth large project as a paragraph of its own. Maybe you only have 3 projects, that's fine too. Maybe you only have 2 projects, that's great. Maybe this year you are brand new to 4-H and started off with just one main project, that's awesome. Just remember, wherever you're starting is such a great starting point. And to accomplish a 4-H record book is definitely no easy task, so we're proud of you. If leadership isn't one of your main projects, I think you definitely still need to include a leadership paragraph that maybe talks about some characteristics or leadership skills that you've gained in your 4-H career, maybe even some leadership roles that you have had so far. And then to me, everyone needs to have a community service paragraph highlighting some service activities you've done, what you've learned through those activities, who you've impacted. Remember, the impact's a big deal. And then your last paragraph, I call it the future goals paragraph. It's a wrap up, an ending summary. Maybe it's what 4-H has done for you thus far. Maybe you include some of those things from that last section we worked on, the career prep and college exploration section, into there. If you're in high school, I think you can talk about what you're looking at as far as careers, after high school plans, colleges, work, whatever that looks like. But also, I think it's really important, if you're not a graduating senior, to include your 4-H goals for the next 4-H year. Okay, so that's just my broad outline. I would screenshot that, take some notes on that, because to me that's going to help you really start gathering what you need to gather. And basically what I think you should do this week is take this outline, jot some notes for each section, what you need to include. Okay, here's my hints, and we'll get into some more of this next week, but I like a catchy opening. And these hints are to make your record book competitive if you're doing it also from a competitive standpoint. I think just, hello, my name is Bailey Wright is not a great, sorry, my computer's doing crazy things, is not a great opening. If you know me, you know any scholarship narrative, any speech, any record book story, I like a theme. Not everyone does. This is my personal preference. I think it makes your 4-H story stand out and gives you maybe some of those creativity points. So I like some sort of theme. I don't think it has to be an overwhelming theme. Some people don't use a theme. That's okay too. How being a 4-H member has helped you set goals. Okay, we're going to really dive into goals next week. But I want you to think about, for each 4-H project you've had, I want you to start thinking about what your goals this past year. So you're thinking about it retrospectively. You're thinking about it back in September of 2019 when the 4-H year was starting. What were the goals you had for your 4-H projects for the 1920 4-H year? So start thinking about those goals for each project this week. That'll help us out a lot next week. Okay, the pictures are really important that they show growth, they show you teaching others, they show you having fun. I love an action shot. I think lots of people like action shots. I'd like to see you getting your hands dirty and doing some work. Again, don't include any photos that depict like family functions, like at your family reunion, or UIL, or sports photos, or non-4-H related photos. It's really important. No blurry photos. Again, this is from a competitive standpoint. Maybe you do a test print with just no color ink and make sure your photos are going to print somewhat clear. Don't make them too tiny either. Sometimes we see people try and just include mass amounts of photos, but they're so small to get them to fit that it really lessens the quality. Oh, I probably should have started with this. And on the report form, they gave us a Word document. Remember that we filled in, we had to make some of our own charts in some sections, but they gave us a document. For the 4-H store, they aren't going to give you a document. So you make it in whatever program's easiest for you. I always use Word. I'm just really comfortable with Word. And so here's this. If you're a Word user too, take note of this right here. Word works great. Some people don't like it with pictures, but if you do the text wrap around the pictures that's tight, So right-click the picture, click text wrap, and then click the type option. You shouldn't have any issues. But one of my friends and coworkers, she uses Publisher. She's really comfortable with that. She's never had any issues with pictures, so I think Publisher's a great option too if that's what you're comfortable with. I think Google Docs is fine too. I haven't really played around with Google Docs much in terms of inserting pictures into a document. I've had people use WordPerfect before. That's challenging for me because it's hard to edit, and if you're sharing it with like your agent or someone to review and help you edit, there's some compatibility issues there. Okay. You don't have to caption your photos, but if they're not self-explanatory, I think you definitely have to caption them. Honestly, I think if you're trying to just send a really awesome record book and be really competitive, I think those photos need captions. Some people use subtitles. We can talk more about that next week too. Some people bold or underline impact statements. We can talk about that too, as long as it's tasteful, not overboard. Again, must be double spaced. Pictures can be mixed in with the story or on pages of their own at the end. I definitely like them mixed in with the story. Minimum of 10-point font. Okay, margins. This is important because in the report form, the margins were set for us. 4-H record books kind of have special margins because if you've ever seen a 4-H record book when it's finished, we put it in this green folder cover, and it takes up quite a bit of space there on the left-hand side. So if you don't have the margins set correctly, it'll cut into your text, and we don't want to do that. So make sure you set your margins to this right here. We already talked about the title. You can get a little creative on formatting the title. You might pick your own font color, add little 4-H Clover graphics to the title. Just remember, it needs to be readable. Again, I think creativity is great, but in moderation. Make sure it's tasteful. Some people also will do like a frame or a border around the page, and I think that's great too, as long as it's tasteful. And they might even frame their photos or captions. Again, less is more. Also, this is super nitpicky. Maybe I shouldn't have even included it, but I like a little page number down here in this corner. I say bottom left corner. Man, y'all, I don't know my left or my right. The right-hand side corner. I like a little page number. I just think it's helpful for the person judging your record book. I'm just going to show y'all this. This is something we'll work on more next week, but just to maybe give you an idea of where we're headed. Sometimes I like to see where we're headed to know what I need to start gathering and thinking about. Again, this story is not going to be, it shouldn't be repetitive from that report form. We should be expanding on some of the things we listed in our report form. Okay, I'm going to show y'all a couple examples so we can talk just about photos. Good photos, not so great photos. So let me switch screens. Hopefully y'all can see this now. So this is a plant soil science story and photo portfolio. And we'll dissect these stories next week and really get into that. Okay, I basically like at least one photo to go with every paragraph. So from that outline, I like a photo that kind of matches up with what you're talking about. The only place I think you have, there's a couple places I think you can have a little bit of flexibility with your photos is right here. This first photo, basically your introduction photo, I think can be a picture of yourself. It can be a picture of yourself working on a 4-H project. I think that's fine too. His kind of includes some aspects of his plant and soil science project. It could also be a headshot, like a school picture. I think that's fine too. I've seen people do a family picture here, and I don't hate it because, and I actually, it's not even that. I like it there. It doesn't bother me to have a family photo there. Just specify like my family and I'm bottom row, far left. Because you are talking, you introduce your family, where you live, yourself, so I think it's okay to do a family picture there. Other than that, they need to be very much 4-H pictures. So then he has another picture that goes kind of with his first project. On the first project, this isn't a bad picture, it's kind of an action picture, but on that first project, I really think you need 2 photos, maybe even 3, at least 1, but I think 2 photos. And I think they need to be really hands-on, photos that can portray what you learned, what skills you gained. We can talk more about those. So he goes on to his second project. He includes a photo with the second project. I like it. We see a lot of livestock projects in our district. We see a lot of backdrop pictures. I don't think a backdrop picture is bad, and sometimes it's all we have, because I know you're busy when you're working on your 4-H projects. You're in the moment. You're not taking a picture, so sometimes it's hard to get those action pictures. But really, I would prefer if this picture would have been a picture of him at home washing his heifer, or in the wash rack at the show, or at home clipping, or at home mixing feed rations, or at home drawing out medication, to really highlight some of those skills he did in the work, the getting his hands dirty at home work that went into the project. So he doesn't include a picture with this shooting sports project. I don't like that. I would have liked to see a picture here. He does, this to me is probably his best picture. He includes a picture in his leadership paragraph. I like this picture because it should be this is one of those pictures that would be even stronger if it were captioned, because we could really know what was going on. But it's a picture of him giving a PSA about 4-H at his local radio station during National 4-H Week. I like it because it's in the moment, it's action. We see him doing something, we can see what skills he learned doing this. That's his best picture, in my opinion. Again, would have liked to see a community service picture. And would have liked to see a picture here at the end. Here at the end is where I think you could include again another picture of you and your project work if you have a good one you want to share, or one that's just kind of a fun 4-H picture. Maybe it's you and your 4-H club, or you and your friends at a club meeting playing a silly game. I don't know, I think you can include a fun 4-H picture here. I'm going to show y'all one more option to give you some ideas of what photos you need to be gathering. Let's see. Okay, here's another one. She kind of introduces a little bit of a theme and just maybe some backstory here. So she included this picture. I like it. She's on stage. It's kind of an action photo. I like it. Here in her introduction, she includes a headshot. I think it's great. This is a really good headshot because her green jacket's actually, she was on state council, so that's their official dress. So I like that picture. Here she's still kind of in an introduction. That's not a bad picture. She's obviously in the barn working with baby pigs. This isn't a great picture. It's not a great picture to include in her record, but I don't like pictures of just posed, standing pictures in your record book. Just not super strong. This is an okay picture. Hers are good because they're captioned, so that makes her picture stronger in my opinion. But again, an action photo probably would have been better. Here we go. Here's a good action one. It's her volunteering at a food bank. They're sorting cans. We can see what they're doing. I like that a lot. She gets into her leadership project, her main project. Again, it says they're playing a game. Not a great shot just because it's on action, but I know it's hard to get those action photos. So I'm not dogging anyone. This is a good record book, definitely. I like this one better. Again, it is a standing pose one, but you can tell they've been working, they're doing something. It's kind of a fun picture because they've obviously been drenched in the rain. I like this picture a lot. This is a good one. It's of her speaking, presenting, in action. Good picture to include in a record, but this one's not bad. It's kind of an action picture. It says she's retiring her jacket. You can obviously see that's what's going on. I really like this one too. Again, we're still in her leadership project, so she included several pictures because it was her main project. She's working a promotional booth. They're interacting with an audience. It's an action picture. I like that one. Not a great one. It says they're working on a district contest. I would have rather seen her handing out awards or passing out fabric from the closet at the Dutch Dazzle contest. Just, again, another action where I can see she's working, or learning. Public speaking project. This one's hard. This says her and her partner after competing at Roundup. We know we can't always take pictures in the middle of contests. Rarely can we take pictures in the middle of contests. But maybe a better picture would have been her and her partner at home, preparing, practicing their presentation with their PowerPoint behind them, or even one with them getting their medals would have been better. But sometimes you do what you got to do. Okay, here we go. Another tough subject. We've touched on this a little bit. FFA and 4-H overlap. They feed off of each other. The project experiences you have in FFA, I have no doubt, strengthen your 4-H projects. And sometimes those overlap, and that's great. And you can include those things that you learn through your FFA project experiences and things you got to do, but you can't include your actual FFA competitions, events. We should not have included this FFA picture. Swine project, I like ring shots way better than I like backdrop pictures because they are action. We can see her in her element doing something. Here she is shaking the judge's hand. Here she is driving her pig. But even better, again, would have been at home, clipping your pig, cleaning out pins, busting shavings. Those are even better pictures. Or maybe just an additional picture. Here's her end of year summary. She included a kind of a fun picture. We can obviously tell they're at State 4-H Roundup and their get up, their green jackets. And so I think that's fun, a fun picture for kind of your end summary. So this was quick. I hope it gave you some ideas and maybe what kind of pictures to gather for next week when we really put all the nuts and bolts together. Again, I'm going to switch screens one more time to show you all the outline that I think y'all need to be taking notes on. Again, here's our outline. So start taking notes or putting together some rough introduction, a paragraph about your main project. Start thinking about goals. Remember, I said the goals are a big deal. Start thinking about what your goals were back in September for the 4-H year. And I think if you gather these main things, your goals, and gather those pictures up, next week we'll talk about kind of the nuts and bolts and how to make that story strong. So thanks for hanging in there. We're almost done, guys. I'll talk to y'all next week.